We are continuing our journey to learn every class in Draw Steel. Today, we are doing the Fury. The Fury is a highly mobile warrior that's excellent at both absorbing damage and dealing out damage against their foes. They are probably one of Draw Steel's simplest classes, but that doesn't mean they're not full of interesting mechanics and incredibly devastating abilities. So, what happens when you create a Fury at level 1? Today, we are going to be creating Yorvarax, the Obsidian King. He was once a slave in the gladiator pits, but he was recruited into a war against the Demon King himself. Yorvarax fought in this war and slew that king, cleaving him in twain with his great axe. Upon the king's corpse, Yorvarax claimed the crown of Draconia itself. Now, that story is all great, but we are going to be creating Yorvarax at the beginning of his adventure, before all that happens. When you create a Fury, you have automatically 2 might. This is going to be your primary stats. Hey, I messed up. You also gain 2 agility at level 1. My bad. The rest of your stats are going to be picked from some preset arrays. Once you pick that, you might want to take a look at your stamina. All Furies have a stamina of 21 at base, gaining 9 stamina per level up, and they have 10 recoveries with which to regain stamina when they lose it. This means that Furies are by far the tankiest class in the game, able to absorb a lot of damage and recover a lot of stamina whenever they do take damage. Yorvarax is in good hands. No wonder he was able to stand up against the Demon King's wrath. You automatically gain the nature skill, but you can also pick one skill from the nature group or the intrigue group, making Furies pretty flexible when it comes to completing tests. Now that we got all the boring skill and stat stuff out of the way, let's talk about subclasses. There are 3 for the Fury. The Berserker, a highly mobile warrior, excellent at dealing high damage against their enemies. There's also the Stormwright, a druidic magic user that transforms into various types of animal hybrids, gaining tons of unique abilities. And finally, what we're picking for Yorvarax, the Reaver, a cunning warrior that's excellent at detecting hidden threats and then cleaving them in twain with their weapon. Reavers are awesome, and I think it fits Yorvarax's whole king shtick that he is both mighty and cunning. With that being said, a Reaver gains some abilities automatically when picked at level 1. They gain Primordial Cunning, meaning that they are completely immune to surprise, and whenever they push an enemy, they actually shift the enemy instead. This is really good as a positioning tool, and you're definitely going to want to build into this when you're making a Reaver like Yorvarax. You also gain Unearthly Reflexes. Whenever you take damage, you can use your triggered action to halve the damage and move away from the enemy that attacked you. This is really solid for a tank. Yorvarax already has a lot of health, but with this ability, that health can go even further as Yorvarax can have damage from devastating attacks, and he gains another repositioning tool in his kit. That's a really good pair of abilities. However, you're not going to be doing anything interesting with your Fury unless you master your Heroic Resource. This is going to be the fuel for all of your most powerful abilities. And for Furies, your Heroic Resource is Ferocity. It should have been called Rage, but it's called Ferocity. They changed it. It's not a big deal. Anyway, it's called Ferocity now, and you gain Ferocity passively, like all other classes. However, you gain more ferocity whenever you take damage and whenever you're knocked into the winded condition or the dying condition. This is the playstyle of the Fury. You are a tank through and through. Your job is to take hits so that your party doesn't have to. And when you are taking hits, you gain more ferocity with which to use powerful abilities with. It's a really simple gameplay mechanic. Speaking of gameplay mechanics, the main gimmick of the Fury is their ferocity. Yeah, no persistent magic, no judgment, no additional stuff. No, your whole gimmick is just taking damage and gaining passive effects whenever you take damage. You see, you don't just need to use your ferocity on heroic abilities. Unlike most other classes, you can hoard your ferocity and gain passive bonuses for your character. And those passive bonuses depend on your subclass. So for the Reaver at level 1, with 2 ferocity you gain some bonuses to your knockback maneuver. With 4 ferocity you gain automatic surges whenever you move a creature. And with 6 ferocity your knockback maneuver gets even more powerful, with you gaining an edge whenever you roll on the check. This is all really good. And you might notice that a lot of these passive bonuses, and you might notice that these bonuses, they're mostly enhancing your standard martial maneuvers. Your knockbacks, your pushes, your grabs. These are all things that every class can do, but the Fury does them best. This is very much intentional. The Fury is encouraged to use their martial prowess and enhance these standard abilities into much more powerful attacks whenever you're hoarding your ferocity. Don't sleep on the standard stuff. When you're playing a Fury, they become extremely, extremely powerful. Speaking of, another ability that gets enhanced as a Fury is your simple jump. Most classes have a chance to really flub their jump, but as a Fury, you gain automatic tier 2s, meaning that you can jump to your heart's content, enhancing that mobile warrior fantasy. Now, all this is great, and I know you're dying to hear about some more, killing abilities. We'll get to those, starting with your kit. See, as a Fury, you are a martial warrior, meaning you get access to kits. These are essentially loadouts with specified armor and weapon combos that give you some passive bonuses, as well as a new signature ability. For Yorvarax, I think the kit he's mostly going to be using is the Mountain. The Mountain gives him bonus stamina, like a lot of bonus stamina, meaning he's even more tanky, but it also means he wields a great weapon, fitting for a guy with a giant axe. The signature ability that comes with this is also Pain for Pain, which deals like an insane amount of single target damage. Don't worry, we're gonna be building into this. Yorvarax is already really strong, but one signature ability is not gonna make a full loadout. Let's expand this with the rest of his abilities, starting with another signature ability. These are your bread and butter. They don't cost any heroic resources, and you can spam them to your heart's content. And Furies, they get some really, really good signature abilities. For Yorvarax, I'm going to be picking Brutal Slam, which allows me to deal some moderate damage, but also push the enemy. And remember, Yorvarax is a Reaver. Whenever I push an enemy, I actually shift them instead, meaning that I can move them in any direction, not just forward. Again, this is building into the repositioning tools of the Reaver class, making Yorvarax even more of a cunning warrior. But I can't just use signature abilities. You're gonna want to use your heroic abilities if you really want to change the face of the battlefield. Heroic abilities cost your heroic resource. For Yorvarax, this is his ferocity. And yes, Yorvarax is definitely gonna want to hoard that ferocity when it comes to gaining those aforementioned passive bonuses, but hey, there's nothing wrong with also using those abilities to rip apart your enemies. For our first heroic ability, we're going to be picking from a list of 3 ferocity abilities that cost 3 ferocity. For Yorvarax, I'm picking Tide of Death. Yorvarax runs forward in a line and deals low damage to every single enemy that he encounters. High damage to the final enemy depending on how many opportunity attacks he triggered along the way. This is a really good AoE ability in a class that doesn't have a lot of AoE abilities. Yorvarax is kind of a single target one trick, and I don't want that. This ability gives him a little bit of dynamicism in combat and allows him to deal with minions whenever they start becoming a problem. It's also a really solid repositioning tool on top of all that. Next up, we're going to be picking a 5 ferocity ability, and for Yorvarax and many Furies, I think it's obvious. You're going to want to pick Make Peace with Your God. Not only is the name metal as all hell, but Make Peace with Your God is a free maneuver, doesn't cost anything to use, just costs your ferocity, and when you use it, your next roll is an automatic tier 3. On top of that, it also just gives you a free surge for some bonus extra damage on top of that. So imagine this, your Varax is fighting. He takes some damage, triggering the bonus damage from Pain for Pain. He then uses this ability, Make Peace with Your God, with a free maneuver, meaning that the next Pain for Pain he hits is an automatic tier 3. Pain for Pain at base does 15 damage, when I take damage deals 17 damage, plus the surge is 19 damage, and with Make Peace with Your God, I roll an automatic tier 3 no matter what, so that 19 damage is guaranteed. That's like 20% of a boss's health bar chunked in one hit. And this is first level. My god. It's only gonna get crazier once he levels up. As your Varax levels up, he'll hit certain milestones where he gets some passive stat buffs. For example, at level 4, your Varax's main stats, like Might, increase by 1, but also he gains some extra ferocity per turn, meaning he can use his heroic abilities more often. He also has a lot of really good general abilities that can be used both in roleplay and in combat, granted by both his class and his subclass. For example, as a Reaver, at level 3, he gains a lot of bonuses to detecting hidden enemies, meaning that any rogues who are trying to sneak up on him, yeah, your Varax will sense them and be very ready to kill them, especially since, if you recall, he cannot be surprised. Oh, and also, this ability randomly gives you, like, huge bonuses to gambling. So, like, I mean, you can do that too. Great. But the subclass abilities are actually not where I think the Fury shines the most. The general abilities offered to every single Fury, regardless of subclass, they're really good. Like, for example, your Varax gains Primordial Portal at level 6, meaning that he can use his blade to rip through reality and tear a portal to another dimension and teleport the rest of the party with him. This is really good if your Varax needs to get out of a fight urgently. Like, if you need to retreat, the Fury is your guy. But hey, look, the Fury isn't just good for running away from fights, they're also good for surviving in them. And at level 7, you gain Elemental Form. Your connection to the primordial chaos of the universe is so great that now, as a Fury, you have resistance to certain elemental damages equal to your highest stats. This is really, really good. Never argue with damage immunity, especially damage immunity that goes this wide. But of course, you guys are here for the abilities you're going to be using to slaughter your enemies, and trust me, the Fury has some really cool ones. These abilities are all really good. For example, your Varax at 5th level can get Rebounding Storm. This deals high physical damage and also can push a creature up to 7 squares. This is insane, and remember, as a Reaver, it's not a push, it's a shift, meaning that your Varax can actually move this creature wherever he wants. That is really, really solid. And by the way, this high damage ability can hit 2 creatures at once, and you can potentially push them together. This is really good for getting a little bit of extra bonus damage and for repositioning your foes into more advantageous spots. But while that ability is crazy, it's nothing compared to what your Varax can pick up at level 9. At level 9, he gains one of the most powerful abilities exclusive to the Reaver, Primordial Bane. Primordial Bane does extreme single target damage, and on top of that, automatically when this ability is used, the target gains weakness to one element of your choice. What weakness number is it? 10. To put that in perspective, if I use this ability against a creature and inflict Fire Weakness 10, I take out all of its fire resistances automatically, and any fire damage that creature takes is increased by 10. So if I combine this with a powerful Elementalist with some decent fire damage abilities, we can melt bosses in like 2 turns. My god. And that's 9th level. Just wait until we get to the capstone, because in my opinion, your Varax and Furies have some of the coolest capstones in the game. For starters, at level 10, you gain the epic resource Primordial Power. Like all epic resources, Primordial Power primarily exists so that you can use your heroic abilities more often without needing to build up Fury over time. But that's not the coolest part. When you hit level 10, you become Chaos Incarnate. Not only do your resistances against elemental damage double, so you have even more resistance and are now even tankier, on top of that, any creature in the multiverse that deals elemental damage has a chance of being frightened of you when you just like walk into their presence. Yeah, your Varax is so him that dragons just quiver before him when he approaches. That is just amazing. Fury's out here aura farming their enemies when they get to max level. I think your Varax is more than ready to climb out of the gladiator pits and claim his throne. What about you? Are you ready to command a highly mobile warrior that can both stand their ground and chase their foes? Someone who can absorb tons of damage and deal it back at the same time? A raging berserker that can't be stopped by any force in the multiverse? If you are, I think you might be ready to play a Fury. And with that, I think we're going to end today's guide. If you guys enjoyed and want to see more of our content, then check out our last episode where we made the Sovereign an Elementalist. Fun fact, the Sovereign and your Varax had a short little blood feud after their alliance went awry. It's linked up in the cards. But before you go, please leave a like on this one and subscribe to Crispy's Academy so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to support us directly, then you can head over to our Patreon where you gain access to exclusive Dungeons & Dragons and Draw Steel content. In essence, like, comment, subscribe, support. I will see you all next time. Now get out there, draw steel.
At level 1.
Today we are going to be creating your Varax, the Obsidian King. He was once a